The next session is the session that we have all been waiting for a long, long time. It's a conversation between two engineers, two developers, a developer like you and me. It is with co-founder and CEO Daniel Dinas with EVP Ted. Ted, over to you.
Thanks so much, Tejas. Well, welcome everyone. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to talk with Daniel, our CEO and my boss, a little bit about just what we're thinking about today, tomorrow, both in the product and how we're thinking about developers and your roles and what you're going to be able to build. Should be a very exciting conversation. And we're going to have a little bit of back and forth, not going to be just a Q&A, almost like we're having a one-on-one and you're joining us for our usual weekly one-on-one conversation. So delighted to be here with Daniel. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Ted. It is always a great pleasure to speak to you. And I'm very excited about our new release. So we have quite a lot to talk about.
Yeah, very exciting times. Obviously, when we're shipping new products, that's what we're here to do. It's the most exciting thing for us is to be able to bring a product to market. Certainly, we've just launched 21.4. Lots of features across the whole surface area, and then some bigger things we did, bigger investments we made. Wonder if we could start with just your perspective on capabilities and features in 21.4 and what you're most excited about.
The most excited about, I am definitely about our task mining product. We've been working for 2 years. It's the most advanced use of computer vision and machine learning that we ever accomplished. We thought last year the product is ready, but after a lot of customer interactions, we decided to postpone the launch with another year. We wanted to bring to market something that is solid and solve a huge customer problem. And I'm a big believer in the process discovery space. And I'm a big believer that combining the backend data using process mining and front-end data by harvesting the data on the desktop will allow our customers to have a 360 view on their processes. And that will accelerate the development of automations. I also know that that was basically the first project that you look at when you join us a bit more than a year ago. What do you think about this space?
Yeah, it's the area of discovery is one of the areas I'm most excited about in terms of where we're investing. It's a space where there's lots of products from lots of other companies, but we have a unique perspective in that we think about how these discovery, process mining, task mining can be used to drive automations. And one of the ways we talk about the vision is this idea of, is it a nervous system? It knows about kind of processes and activities, whether those are just your most important processes like order to cash, or what individuals are doing out there in their daily lives. It knows, it's observing, and it's finding opportunities for you. And that's a big vision. And what's exciting now is we have task mining, which really fills what I think of as the triad of the foundation that we can build upon. We have task capture to capture what individuals know, process mining to watch your processes. And now we have task mining to watch the work of individuals and find those opportunities to automate. You mentioned this is one of those hard-won successes in terms of bringing a product to market. Turns out this is another example of where the promise is really easy to describe, but the problem in building it is super hard. The promise is we can find all these opportunities to automate by observing events, very easy to describe. The actual science in the ML system is hard, but we feel really good about it. And we've had lots of good engagement with the community in terms of the preview and getting it right, and feel really good about the baseline. But there's a lot more we can do. We'll see shortly things like, PII data masking, adding to the privacy and assurances you have in using the product as an end user, and then this other vision we have to just make it more continuous and more personal and individual in the future. It is truly one of the most exciting areas. Bridging, so your background as a developer, that's one of the things I was most excited about as I got to know the company. Your background as a developer, and you're really focused on an excellent product, excellence in engineering. And also feel super fortunate that even as CEO, you take a lot of time still to spend on the core of the product, where you got a ton of expertise, given all the years you've been spending time, especially in like core UI automation and the studio developer experiences. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about some of the things you're most excited about, speaking to developers in those areas of the platform.
UI automation is for sure my everlasting love. I used to describe myself like having, this is my craft. This is, I learned it for many years. It's something that you need to really have a deep understanding to get it right. It's one of the professions where you need the 10,000 hours to invest in order to deeply understand it. It's like playing a violin in a way, this UI automation space. So we've been working for the past year a lot on bringing to life what we call the modern UI automation for UiPath. We have created different ways to more precisely and reliably identify elements on the screen. So we have introduced the concept of fuzzy automation. We have introduced multiple triangulation of the way we see the screen. So we see basically in modern automation the screen through the eyes of the end user and through the eyes of the computer. And we triangulate these data in order to get a much more precise understanding. We have also introduced our object repository, which is a great way to separate the process data from the user interface data. Some of our customers even build their own frameworks about as the best practice in their development teams, allowing them to share the information faster, updating the data, searching through the information. Now we are introducing a standardized way where you can build, you can capture the screen information in objects and you separate them from the process. So that, again, allow much cleaner development, sharing of the development. And also, it's gonna allow third parties to create really good screen descriptors for most important applications and have accelerate the development using this third party or even internally built objects, screen objects by everyone. It's gonna help also citizen developer building faster automations by using really well-built screen objects that they are ready to consume. It's notorious that one of the most difficult tasks for a citizen developer is to massage the selectors, the object descriptors. Once you have RPA developers building for you really good object descriptors, it's gonna be way easier to build this. So all in one, I believe we made quite a solid progress on the UI automation front, and we are really going at a very high speed. This is a high-speed train. This is a big part of our competitive mode, and I want to assure our developers, our external RPA developers, that we are massively investing in helping you build faster and more reliable automations.
Yeah, it's been interesting for me just in the year plus I've been here to learn about this technology and understand just how deep and detailed a problem it is to solve at an engineering and technology level. and then to make it easy for developers to be able to use it. Things like unified target that make it easy to, whichever method you need to use to interact with the element. And we talked about actually yesterday in my keynote, that we're also bringing computer vision into unified target. So continuing to think about just how we can make it easier and easier so you don't have to know about all these details. That's very detailed and difficult problem. So shifting a little bit, one of the things that I also observe is, the conversation in the market around us, around RPA, is often about automating the repetitive, the routine, which is clearly a core way, front office, back office activities. That's clearly a core and important thing that we do for customers, and a place often their work with us will start. But we see a lot of just new apps and new business processing capability being built on our platform. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about just, kind of the future of business apps and how you see our platform evolving and our role in the future kind of application environment of our customers.
Our ultimate goal is to provide our customers this platform that will serve all their automation's goal. Nowadays, most of our customers are using our platform to automate existing manual repetitive business processes. And this is extremely powerful. But businesses evolve. Always business people will create new processes to adapt to the ever-changing enterprise demand. How do you create a new process today? This new process you will create first for manual consumption, and when the process scales up, people think and bring the idea of automation. We would like to change this paradigm. We would like to advance our platform to make easier for people to build automated process from the day one. So instead of building for human users, they will build it for our robots. So we are investing in different areas like no-code, low-code app development that provides a very nice user interface for people to consume automations. That effectively puts the automation as a new layer on the top of the application layer in the enterprise stack. And we are investing also in advancing our workflow automation that facilitate automating of more complex business processes that involve different persona, maybe even different departments, like to be able to automate an end-to-end procure-to-pay or order-to-cash type of processes that can start in go-to-market and continue into the finance departments. And in a nutshell, we believe that the power of this platform comes from this idea of emulating people, identify with the way people work. And I want to stress again, we are a platform that was built specifically to be able to emulate people, not only existing processes, but how they will think in the future for new processes. So on the top of our platform, users, business users, IT, citizen developers will be able to build their new processes in an automated fashion because the platform accommodates their mind model. We don't force people to accommodate a specific platform way of doing things.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about the future and where we're headed next. RPA, one of the things I've learned about that's really unique about it is it being centered on UI automation. That gives us this property of emulating the work of people, how we capture the real end-to-end work of a business process, and what makes it so much more powerful than, say, platforms that came along previously and promised the same thing. Hey, we're going to automate your processes. We're going to integrate your systems. Now, API integration is important. It's not UI versus API. It's both. We have a lot of API integration activities. But we made a big investment earlier this year in the acquisition of Cloud Elements, a leading integration platform company. And I wondered whether you could speak a little bit about why we acquired them and what the plans are for bringing that into our platform. And I think developers would be interested also to hear, like, how should we think about this? Is this UiPath getting into the iPaaS market? Is that what I should be thinking about? Or, how should I be thinking about that and what I'm going to be able to do?
We believe that in order to be able to emulate human workloads, you have to have a combination of UI automation, API integration, and computer vision. And they should work equally well. You cannot downsize one versus the other. Always, if you look at the steps in a manual workflow, you will find sometimes it's easier to use API. Like if I want to send an email, I'm not going to go through the user interface. This is silly. I'm just going to use an API based, even if it's on the desktop. I'm going to use Outlook integration on desktop, and it's easier and more precise. But sometimes, even if I go on the top of really an application with well-defined APIs, like Salesforce, for instance, sometimes it's easier to go through the user interface, build fast the process. So combination is essential. We had sort of API integration since the beginning. Cloud Elements completes us. They bring us a very solid cloud-based, multi-tenant, extremely scalable technology that is able to handle millions of simultaneous API calls. And they allow us to have a much greater story for modern API integration, like OAuth type of integrations, right? Until our integration with Cloud Elements, we had more desktop-based type of API integrations where the entire handling of OAuth happened on the desktop level, on the robot level. But now we can delegate it to Cloud Elements, and we have all the handshake made, and that opens quite a few of the use cases that are required. And we are coming with new Google integrations, new Microsoft Office integrations that will be much easier to be handled from our platform. But Ted, you've been basically the architect of this deal. You were the number one proponent, so you've been behind it in reality. How do you see it?
Yeah, this has been a fun journey for us. It's certainly also been driven by community feedback. I'd say we heard two things loud and clear from our community. Expand the surface area of the API integration activities. Like, integration is a long tail problem. We've got to be able to have API integration for as many of the SaaS apps and systems and platforms that exist. So expand them. And the second thing was, we have some gaps relative to, especially on the server side, things like server-side triggers, how you manage connections and credentials. We got that feedback loud and clear. And Cloud Elements and what they have just fits directly into that. And we'll be able to add now a catalog of over 80 integrations to our platform. We're building, as you know, and we've been working on this connection management, capability in the platform, so you can externalize managing connections and credentials from your automation, and then of course adding server-side triggers. It's going to be pretty exciting. This is one of the big things we're doing in 2110. I think it's super exciting. It's going to open up a lot more for our developers to be able to do. So you have the choice. Sometimes UI automation is going to be the best approach. Other times using an API integration will be the best approach in terms of you integrating with the various systems and apps you need to. And I think it's just going to be exciting and expand more what they're going to be able to do, which I think is very exciting. To shift gears now, and this is literally the conversation you and I have been having in our one-on-ones recently, talking about the future, and you've coined this term semantic automation. And we've been starting to have some discussions ideating about, well, what do we mean? And what would this mean for the future of our platform? I wondered if we could have a little bit of a dialogue just about the thinking of what is semantic automation and what does it mean about where we're going to take the platform?
Then we know that the user interface, documents, maybe even conversational interfaces have way more semantic information than databases or even APIs. Because these are human interfaces, and human interfaces naturally contain this semantic information. And they are essential in how users consume these interfaces. We don't have to train a user how to read an invoice, how to read English, how to read an invoice, and then how to populate a form based on a document. We don't have to train a user, take this customer name field and put it into this customer name field. We just have to show them the flow. Take the invoices from this folder, use the CRM application, and enter the data in this form. So our robots are not able to do this at this point. And you have to describe in way more detail. Also, think about task mining that we talked in the beginning. It's an amazing level of information that we can capture when people are doing their processes. I don't think anybody can have this. You can dump your database in the best cloud technology like Snowflake, but you miss the meaning of it. We are being much closer to the users. We are closer to the meaning. So we start to invest quite a lot in this direction. And in a way, I think our technology aims to emulate people, aim to automate manual tasks by emulating people. Maybe that's the best definition, like semantic automation. It's actually what we are doing. We started at the low level, the basic of the pyramid, and now we are advancing the needle a bit. I know that you are also quite excited about semantic automation. We talked recently with some of our teams. What's your take on it?
Yeah, one of the examples I like to use is just talking about the progression we've been on in terms of processing documents. So at first it was more OCR, and you're dealing with characters and strings, but we've raised the semantic level with things like document understanding. So we understand there's actually structured and semi-structured information, and we understand that semantics, so now we can extract that table that's just sitting there and we can make it easier then to use with data. And now we have models that understand things like receipts and invoices. And if you think about then the system in the future being able to just throw it a document and it can tell you what it is and decide what to do with it. And the same kind of semantic progression on the UI side is we can continue to elevate our understanding of, well, that's a UI element. Well, no, we know that that's actually a higher layer construct, like a place you're entering billing information or something else. And because we know that, then we can actually also kind of source ways, start you in a different place in terms of developing automations around that. And I think that's just a very exciting progression that's just going to make it easier to do things in our platform and help make developers more productive, which at the end of the day is why this is magical and how good things can happen. So it's a pretty exciting direction. So as we head toward close, maybe shift a little bit to speaking to our RPA community and to the developers out there, and start with a two-part question, maybe a little bit more of a fun one. You started your career as a developer, and you've had an amazing career journey. Certainly, it can be described that way for sure. And I thought it'd be interesting for you to share maybe some of the lessons you learned along the way, or maybe think about what would you go back and tell the Daniel that was working in SQL Server as a developer in the early days in terms of how the best way to build a career forward from there?
Well, I have so many to tell myself. I was really pretty stuck into a fixed mindset at that point. I praise myself to be a C++ developer, a backend developer, and that was all. And I missed quite big opportunity to learn well, and particularly in SQL Server, which was and still is. I think it's an amazing product built. So what I would tell myself is be open to new things. Learn not only mainstream things, but learn more niche, more esoteric frameworks that will increase your value, not only for yourself, but also on the market. So I would cascade it to RPA developers. RPA in itself, it's a niche market. So we can see the increase in number of jobs. They are well paid. It's great to be an RPA developer. But I would say that RPA is getting mainstream. So now get your hands dirty on things like AI Center, understanding task mining, understanding analytics, understanding the entire solution, being able to do end-to-end and understand the UiPath platform will increase your valuation in the market, definitely. And there are very few people that really are able to understand everything. But then you started as a developer yourself. What would you tell yourself if you go back in time?
Well, I'd start with where you started, which is in any job you're going to have, it's going to be all consuming. That's just the nature of tech and what we do. And if you're not careful, then you can get very locked into the ways you're doing things, and you really do need to push yourself to explore over the boundaries, whether that's the adjacent areas in the platform you're working in, or just being a student of technology. One of the things I admire about you is your ability, still as a very, very busy CEO now, to be up to date on technology trends. You should be a student of what's going in technology and the disruptions that are coming. You should be looking at those things, whether it's a new framework or the incredible advances in AI. You should constantly be a student and be pushing yourselves to expand. And those that do that, I mean, they're going to have better career trajectories. And I think there's an amazing potential, obviously, for RPA developers. And maybe you can speak just a little bit more about that and kind of how you see their opportunity and careers going in the next, few years.
Yeah, indeed. I really love to read about technology. Even today, I told many times I start my day by reading Y Combinator news, and there are a lot of technical articles. And I learned quite a bit since I left Microsoft in 2005. I wrote I didn't write a lot of code, to be really precise, but I read a lot of code and I read a lot of articles about it. I think you have to stay. I trained myself in Node.js, in JavaScript, like around 2011, 2012. So I can still have a conversation with our people that build the front end at this point. I'm not...
Yes, you can. Just for everybody, I can attest to this.
And then about distributed architecture. So I'm a big fan of cloud. I'm a big fan of building scalable, distributed technologies. And I think we are living in the best time for technology. Being an engineer, being involved in technology these days, I think it's an amazing opportunity. And we provide so much and we are innovating so much. I know that sometimes customers say UiPath comes with too many things. So give us time to digest them. But guys, you are in the forefront of the community are in the forefront of our way of reaching the customers. You have to digest them very fast, be really open to new things. That has been amazing talking to you, like always. Really, I'm really excited about this release. Of course, now we are eyeing 21.10, which will be an immensely, massive release for us as we are embarking into a very big technology shift, as we are embarking into having our platform working equally well on Linux, on Macs. We are getting closer to our multi-cloud strategy. It's really an amazing time for us.
Yeah, one of the great things about this space is we never have to worry about having enough to do. Lots of exciting things still to come. And so as we wrap, just want to thank everyone in the community for their partnership with us. We get so much value out of the feedback you give us and how you support each other. Thank you so much. As we close the session, general session of day 2, we hope you've had a fantastic DevCon as this wraps up, and we're looking forward to the continued journey together. Thanks so much for your time, and back to you, Tejas.
Thank you, Did, and Mulțumesc, Daniel. Wasn't it such an inspirational half hour? I don't know how did this time pass. Thank you both again, and let's take a quick break and see you on the other side for part 2.